What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Best Show Ever podcast with your host, Kyle Herdt. I am stepping in for my brother on this episode in season 3 of the Best Show Ever podcast. That is crazy. I cannot believe it's already been 3 seasons for my brother in this terrific podcast. It's been absolutely incredible to watch his journey in just this short amount of time of this collection of interviews that he's gotten to put together. People like Daniel Donato and Matt Bush and Ari Fink and Tom Hamilton and Tom Marshall and all these other crazy people that we just were people in music that me and my brother look up to. And he's out here now just booking these people like it's no big deal, and like he just does it on the reg, which is nuts. But back to this episode in season 3 that I am here for, that I am taking over for. I am going to be doing this interview because it's someone who's pretty near and dear to my heart. It's someone who's almost like a brother to me. It's someone who I've been to a lot of shows with. It's also someone who is a big Best Show Ever podcast supporter. Without him, this podcast wouldn't be going on, and it wouldn't be rocking and rolling. And I'm talking about my brother. I'm talking about Cam Herdt, Mr. Cam, or whatever. But yeah. Me and him linked up and had a really long conversation that we had to actually be like, okay, we have to stop this. We have to stop this conversation because people aren't going to listen to a 3.5 hour episode of a couple dorks just saying, remember this one time and this other time and with mom. And, but yeah, I get to talk to my brother about some rough shows that me and him went to with our parents, and some other shows that he got to do, and some Phish shows that we got to do, and just a crazy year and a half that he has been having with Best Show Ever podcast, and that we have been getting to see some awesome shows, and it was really, really cool to sit down and kind of look back on what we've been doing lately and what he's been doing in the scene and the videos he's been putting out. And it was just cool to goof around with my brother for a little bit and record it. So here it is, guys. A interview of the man behind Best Show Ever podcast, Mr. Cam, my brother, Cameron Herdt. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, just remember to keep your fucking guest. So don't be trying to run this conversation, all right?
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, because you were on.
I'm just gonna chill.
You're on my show now, dude. You're on my show now.
There's a new sheriff in town.
There's a new show in town. It's not about the best show.
It's about the big show.
It's about whatever show I'm telling you to talk about. No, we're not talking about that show. No. You just tell me your best show ever. I'm like, no.
Not that one. Tell me about
That's not it, actually.
Tell me about, did you see Wiz Khalifa? Tell me about that.
Yeah. What about the David Byrne show? I like that one, so you should talk about that.
All right. It was in Chicago. You're like, no, do a big story.
Yeah, hold on, I'll just tell it.
Yeah, no, so I got the tickets. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I got the tickets, or you got the tickets. I thought they should have been better. So already off the bat, not as good as we thought it was going to be.
It is and every time we talk about that show, I'm always like, it was kind of sick that we were up high, You're like, no,
No.
it sucked.
No, we took those edibles and felt weird that like when he's like, burning down the house, and everyone was just like,
All right.
okay, all right, he's trying to burn down the house right now. Okay?
So maybe a little,
Yeah, maybe
something
just give him something. I don't know.
for the fucking guy.
That's the guy. So, what has been up? What's been up, man?
I'm still in San Diego right now. Jess just got a job this morning to send us to San Francisco.
It's like finally official.
Yep. And so we did a virtual tour of an apartment, and that we kind of like. Might end up just being that place. That's how we're living right now. We're just like we are moving to San Francisco next week, and we just found out right now.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome because I know that it was kind of like we'll move to San Diego and we'll kind of figure it out, and then you're like really liking San Diego right now too.
Yeah, we're in Ocean Beach. Ocean Beach is essentially shakedown town.
Yeah.
It's like Winston's is here. There's always like vendors on the street that are like selling, little stones and joints and heady merch and stuff. And there's like the best the best local dead band of all time plays every Monday, and there's drum circles, and there's dank fish tacos. Like if you're planning a family vacation and you're heady and you want to do like a little heady family vacation, go to Ocean Beach. And that's what this month has felt like. It's felt like we will come back from, like, we did this Sphere for my birthday, which we might talk about later. We
Could be.
are like, cool, let's go home, and we come back and it feels like we're like on vacation. And so I think that's cool and everything, but we're excited for fucking like real life
And like finally like lockdown. Like it's like, okay, this is really fun, and it's fun what we're doing, and this is cool part of California we haven't really done, but need to have like roots. You need to live somewhere.
We're like sitting like on the beach last night. We're like both don't have our shoes on. We're like, we're like, all right, it's time to fucking like get out.
Fairy tale life is over now. Okay.
Okay.
It's we got to go back to work. We got to find a city to live in. You got to find a city to live in.
We've been wasted away in Margaritaville for too long, and it's time to come back home.
That's so awesome, though.
Yep, there's Jess right there.
What's up, Jess?
Hey.
What's going on? You going to the beach?
She's going to the beach because we're on vacation, and you're on the podcast, for God's sakes.
We're live right now.
We're live right now.
You're on my podcast right now. You can do that on Cam's podcast, but
we're live on NBC right now.
There's a debate going on tonight. Okay.
We're live right before the debate, babe.
Yeah, we're doing a debate. We're doing the debate. Final thoughts before the debate.
We're about to finish up just some final thoughts on the debate, but yeah, enjoy the beach. All right, Sam. Love it.
Finally.
Oh my God, so sorry about her.
I know. I can like finally breathe now that she's gone.
She's just a real pain in the ass. Yeah, so she's going to be doing pediatric nursing in Oakland, so that's. But yeah. Anyway, back to me.
But no, that is it's awesome. We got a spot nailed down, and it's kind
2
of
bedrooms. You can come visit Goose Frost Amphitheater.
It didn't even have to be 2 bedrooms. I was going to come visit regardless.
Regardless.
Is it like outside of San Francisco? Are you in Oakland?
There's 2 places that we're looking at. One of them's in Alameda, not Alameda.
It's Nita.
Alameda. And that's pretty cool because that's kind of by the water. And it's like a little island that sits. It's on a little island that sits between like Oakland and San Francisco, and like south of Oakland, which is cool. And then the other place we're looking at is Rock Ridge. And so Rock Ridge. Rock what? And Putt and Meg's friend Sue's travel nurse is there already, and she's like, I usually hang out in Rock Ridge. So we were like, I mean, okay. We know nothing. We were like, we know nothing about the Bay Area. Jess she lived in San Jose and Palo Alto for Stanford, but we We know nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you forget how far away that actually is from the Bay. That's like another 30, 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, and we're just like, sounds good. And then we're gonna show up and be like, okay, what the fuck is this? No, the places that we're looking at are super fucking nice. So
we're gonna be just fine. It's gonna
be yeah, I run a podcast. I do just fine.
There's like almost 1,000 subscribers. This is actually gonna put over 1,000 subscribers at this.
Oh yeah. If we keep doing this, if we keep talking about where I'm going to live in San Francisco, this thing's going to go past 10K, no problem.
That's right. Yeah, I'm supposed to be answering the questions that you sent me over to ask. Right. I gotta go by the guidelines here.
Hey, I'm not running the episode, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
so what do I do now? Yeah. So let's dive into what we're here for. What everyone's been waiting. They're like, oh my gosh, all these interviews have been so great. But what about the man behind the podcast, right? In front of and behind the podcast. So we're going to throw it down big, and everyone's finally going to get the tell-all answers from you, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I very famously never do interviews, so this is fucking... The people are dying to hear from me. I never post anything.
You're never telling anyone what you do. You're very secretive. You're very off the grid, but on the grid also.
I never have so many fucking story posts. That never happened.
You're so mysterious. No one ever knows what shows you're at ever.
Very, aloof, mysterious guy.
Yeah, so
shut-in.
This will be really good to shed some light for the people. Honestly, get to know who you are.
Yeah.
So let's start it out. The first show you ever attended, and these are all funny too, because this whole time I've been trying to wrap my brain around some of your answers too. And the first we're gonna do, I can't. What was your first show?
You don't know?
I think I did. I want to say like some church show, but I'm talking like like it was jars of clay for sure.
There was absolutely like a Christian in sync that came through.
Yeah,
that was, like,
we saw Bebo Norman during Christmas. I'm pretty sure, and that was great.
So the Bebo Norman laser show was probably my first show. Took acid, obviously. Changed my life. No, it was probably like in a carpeted gym in a church, that was probably the first show that I saw. But the real like first, mom and dad would go like, they own a pizza place. They don't like go all out for everything, but like when concerts came through, that was when they like did it up. And so when I finally got to go to like one of those types of shows with dad, it was Queen at the Bradley Center.
I was so upset because you and dad went.
And you were a big Paul Rogers from Bad Company guy who was the singer at the time.
For probably about 15 years at that time, I was just really into Bad Company, the song and the band.
I came home. You're like, did they fucking play Shooting Star? You're 9. You're like, did they fucking play Shooting Star? God damn it.
I will never recover from this.
Damn it. Yeah, no, that was who the singer was. But I remember getting like really, and I talk about this with dad on his episode where I remember like reading like a review like the week before in the Journal Sentinel, and it was like, this act is, boring, and it's not Freddie Mercury's Queen, and this is not Queen. And I like showed it to dad, and he like didn't even like look up from what he was doing. He's just like, I don't need someone else to tell me if I'm gonna have a good time or not.
Of course, Freddie Mercury's not gonna be there. Okay, I know that.
Fucking Queen. We're talking about fucking Queen, okay? And I was like, all right.
Paul Rogers, he's been around the block. All right,
he's awesome.
It was awesome, and he's awesome.
Guy's awesome.
So
he's just like, if you don't know about a guy's career, you're just like, he's at Woodstock, all right? And I was like, is that true? And he's like, yeah, all right. You open for fucking Steve Winwood.
Yeah, everyone opened for Steve Winwood.
Yeah, guy's awesome. He opened for Steve Winwood.
Right? He opened for Steve Winwood.
I'm like, okay, I don't care. There's also guys who like ended up being like bankers who opened for Steve Winwood. They're like, we had one good gig in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We opened for Steve Winwood.
I don't think every Woodshocks though was like the craziest thing ever. So I don't know, Brad. There might have been some duds on that bill. Were there any duds?
For sure. Paul Rogers, probably. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was a great show. I remember like they opened with "Tie Your Mother Down." It was like an extended intro, and like there was Brian May is like the first guy to pop up on the stage, and it's just like a spotlight on him, and he's like on the platform. He's got that like guitar that he made himself.
Yep.
You know, with his dad,
hair.
And like. And his hair is still how it was.
Perfect.
His hair is perfect. And like he is like and it was fucking sweet. And they were like running around and doing a big show, and like it felt like every song was sick. And
how old were you? High school?
It was I think it's called the Remember the Champions tour. There is a CD of it, and I think it's like 2000,
like your junior year of high school, maybe.
No, I'm like freshman year, like, or maybe 8th grade. It's like 6 or 7.
Sporting the Queen t-shirt the next day at school for sure.
For sure, dude. I'm like, yep. Anyone kind of see this? Got a new shirt.
Who is Paul Rogers?
Who is Paul Rogers? Great question. I'm fucking 12.
He opened for Paul Rogers. He opened for Steve Winwood. Just go dad mode right away. I feel like
that was awesome.
Defense, I go very dad mode right when I'm on the defense right away. Okay, all right. Well,
you fucking like The Boys Are Back in Town? All right. Well, I don't know if he sang that song or not, but it was fucking.
You could imagine
that's kind of his vibe. If he did, he would fucking kill it. Guy's awesome. Yeah. Played Steve Winwood.
Not awesome.
It's awesome. But that show was awesome. Like, I mean, you know, and so funny at that show. I remember they played Radio Gaga, which has just become such a bit like within our friend group of like that song. And like, but I remember being like, yeah, this sucks. And Dad's like, yeah, this sucks. And like, that was kind of the first moment of like,
Dad does not like Radio Gaga.
No.
Dad likes Queen, but Dad would tell you, he's like, of course, he like the first Queen album before, you know, they were like putting out Radio Gaga and stuff.
He's like, when they did Dragon Attack, like, that's awesome. But then all of a sudden it's like, you know, Freddie Mercury's got makeup on, and I don't know what's going on anymore.
They used to play Liar Liar all the time, you know. That song rocks.
Guy's awesome.
You know, but I like Another One Bites Dust too, so I like that song.
That was like, you know, when we would like sort Dad's tickets, he had a ton of Queen tickets, like, because they just came through Chicago a lot in like the late 70s, early 80s, and he saw his buddy would like shoot photography for them and stuff. And so like to get to see Queen with Dad, it felt like I was like, cool, like Freddie Mercury's not here, but like I'm seeing one of Dad's shows with Dad. So that was like the real
first show, but first show with Dad.
First one. And that's yeah. I like after that, it's probably a bunch of Rush shows, which we will talk about.
Yes, a lot of Rush shows. That was your first show. What was your worst show? Which is also I'm very, very curious about, because you've seen some terrible shows.
You've seen some ass trash. I think
some really bad shows. So
I think there's a couple, like, you know, I spent a lot of time at the Rave, the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee through high school and then into college. That's where I saw a lot of like shows on my own or shows with my friends for the first time. And there was a lot of trash at that. Like there was also like some of the best crowds I ever saw, but like I saw like a Steve Aoki show there that, like, I mean,
you get caked, totally caked.
It was just the weirdest fucking room of people. And I like, you know, was like, yeah, cool, I'll give like electronic music a try. And it was like my first chance at it. And he was just like, I mean, and I you know, I don't think his career fucking held up. I don't know, but it was, you know, that show sucked.
He's just like a Vegas residency guy, and just like the name of, you're just waiting for the cake the whole show. You want the cake.
He's like the electronic version of Slash. Like he just keeps popping up everywhere. Like he's just like famous, kind of.
Just like click of the button. Let me play all the songs there.
I couldn't tell you one Steve Aoki song right now, but I at the time thought that was gonna be sick. It might have been Steve Aoki and Skrillex, to be honest, and I was just
that's it. Skrillex definitely saved the show there, probably.
The worst show I ever saw, though, and this is for real, is
that was even the worst show.
I'm like, those are like, like he I don't.
Yeah.
There's also like the the Ringo Starr show I saw with Dad, where
infamous in our family.
Yeah, infamous. Like Dad, like, I'm about to not be living in Milwaukee anymore, and Dad is like, he's got a room. He's like doing it big, like I said. When it's like a concert, Dad like goes all out. So he's got like a room at the Pfister, and he's like, got the sweet seats in the 100 level at the Pabst Theater. And for those who've not been to the Pabst Theater, beautiful great theater in Milwaukee.
Terrific.
Awesome place to see a show. Nice and super small, and like, like Ringo, most of his like half of his band is Toto. Is like the guys from Toto, and then like he's got like Todd Rundgren, and
sick.
Like we heard like 2 Beatles songs, and like
the worst Beatles songs too, probably.
I don't even think he sang them. Yeah, and like, but the main thing was that he was like really rude to the audience, like, and to the band. Like the audience, he'd be like, "What?" Like someone would say something, he'd be like, "What?" And like he'd be like, "I can't hear you," We're all the way up here. I've got in-ear microphones. So like, he's like, "I can't read your sign, love."
He's doing crowd work.
I'm like, what are you roasting the audience? Like that, like, and he's a Beatle. Like there was a couple times it'd be like the end of like Africa or fucking like Bang on the Drum All Day, like either Todd Rundgren or a Toto song, and they would be like, "Thank you guys so much. Like Milwaukee, it's so great to be here." And then Ringo would be like, "They're not here to hear you speak." And it's like, and the crowd was like, "Oh," like it's like they didn't like it. And Dad doesn't ever get hammered, and he was just like trashed and hating it, and just like like heckling Ringo. It was a tough, but that was one of the worst shows we ever saw.
Yeah, I think every time we get together as a family, I think now that just like that's probably like top 6 or 7 stories that gets brought up. Like I don't know what gets us on that, but Dad will always, like, if something was bad maybe, or it was, this reminds me of that time we saw Ringo. That was terrible. It's like always.
We'll see like a band who's kind of like getting back together, and he'll be like, "Well, I mean, there's no fucking way it's going to be worse than the Ringo Starr show."
Cam, you remember the Ringo? We're like, yeah, we talked about the Ringo show on the way. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. It was really bad. It was terrible.
Guy sucked.
What about your first show without like mom or dad? What was the first show that you went on solo mission or with friends and stuff? Would it be like a Summerfest show, or would that been the rave probably?
It was a Summerfest show, and it was OAR at Summerfest.
Cool. Yes, yeah, classic man. OAR always putting on 2 nights of Summerfest usually. Back in the day, no one else on the bill doing 2 nights.
They were always there, and like they were such a, like me and all my friends didn't always all listen to the same music. Like I had friends that liked hip hop and friends that didn't, and friends that liked, country music and friends that didn't, and friends that liked, punk and like pop punk stuff, and friends who didn't. And like OAR was a very unifying, like everyone, I felt like in a bunch of different friend groups were like going to OAR, and they came at, like you said, every Summerfest. And so that was the first one, and then we ended up like seeing them at like probably 5-6 years in a row.
Yeah, that was like for sure always.
Oh yeah, but I just remember like, that was the first time like going to a show with my friends, and then being like, like out on the Summerfest grounds by myself. Like, and you've like walked through there with mom and dad, like on the way back, like Rush would play the main stage at Marcus Amphitheater. And then you'd like walk through the crowd, like on the way back to the car, and like catch a little of like the Black Crowes or something. And you'd like look around and be like, wow, like this is the fest, And like, so that was, seeing OAR was like probably sophomore year was like the first time I did a concert with the fellas.
Because we had gone to Summerfest as a family like a good amount of times to see like Buddy Guy and Derek Trucks Band and Rush a bunch.
Asia. Saw Jeff Beck.
Yes. Rush cover bands before Rush.
I mean, you know, like Summerfest is like fucking Christmas if you live in Wisconsin, because it's 11 days and there's like so many acts. It's like $15, and like
it's quote unquote the biggest music festival in the world. That's like what it says on there. I don't know if it still says that, but like you'd see that as you're walking into Summerfest. I'm like, this isn't the biggest music festival in the world, but it like runs for so long, and then you forget there's 14 stages and there's people playing from 11 to 11 all day. So
yeah, and like a bunch of good like local Chicago acts play up there, and like you know, there's like fucking awesome food vendors that are there every year. Like it really is a great festival, and I think that sometimes when you live in Wisconsin, you're like, oh yeah, I mean like Summerfest, like eye roll, but like it's great. It's fucking awesome. Yeah,
definitely spoiled with that, having that, being able to just take the bus down in high school and play the bridge game. Like every time you go under a bridge, take a shot out of your like UV blue water bottle that's just warm as hell.
Bridge. And then like there's a couple bridges that are like bridge, and you gotta like, yeah,
and then just like trying to find the right bus and make sure you don't go to Gerke's Corner in Pewaukee, and you make sure that you try to get home to Heartland. And
people would just like race to get as drunk as they can off of like, yeah, they would feel like you go to like the Chipotle across the street and do like, that's like right when they started doing the new soda machine. So you do like a little purple Fanta mix with like an orange and a watermelon or some shit like that, and then like fill the rest of it up with like the worst alcohol ever, and then you're like racing the clock to drink it as fast as you can. And then you would just like walk through the gates. This is like, of course, like after we're in like when I'm in college and you're going to Summerfest every year, like you just like walk through the gates and then you just stand at the
in the
middle, and everyone in your town does too, and then you're just kind of standing there, and like everyone's here. And
we couldn't figure out always if that was just a Waukesha County thing. You're like, why does it feel like the only people in the whole Summerfest grounds are people that I know right when you walk in? Like it's just like...
Oconomowoc, Wisconsin would just stop after we walk right in and just talk, and then it's like, guys, we gotta go. Lupe Fiasco is about to go on. Like, we gotta go, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys.
I remember when you went to
get some clove cigarettes and fucking get over there.
When you went to Wiz Khalifa when I was like going into freshman year of high school, and you were going to college, freshman year of college, and I wanted to go to Wiz Khalifa so bad.
Dude, that was like the one. That was the big one, dude.
Yeah, I was like, you just put out Cabin Fever. I have the fever. I need to be there.
Like, Cam's gonna be fourth row all day, getting the worst sunburn of all time, smoking the worst joints anyone's ever seen all day. That sounds fucking lit. I want to be down there.
I want to like be on the verge of like passing out. It's so hot and cramped, and
got robbed. Snapback.
Got absolutely robbed of that.
Just a bunch of kids in polo tees and snapbacks. Everyone white.
So white. A lot of just mid-calf polo socks.
Yeah, dude.
Snapbacks. Oh man,
dude, just paper planes, dude. Fucking, my God, I wish fucking Mac and Tree J were here right now. God damn.
And then
we'll talk about them. We'll talk about.
Yeah, we actually are going to talk about them. That's in the notes. And then you came home from that show, and you're like, that was like the worst show ever. He played for like 35 minutes and then left.
I'm like, it was fucking sick. It changed my life.
I was like, no, it was actually super sick and in style. But so, if we're moving closer to the name of the podcast, best show ever, if we're moving closer to that, let's get into some honorable mentions.
You're killing it, by the way.
I'm really. No one knows how hard I'm trying butt cam right now. I'm really trying.
Fucking killing it.
Trying really hard. So the next thing you said I should say is says you should say something about honorable mentions. So
yeah,
I feel like we have to break it down into 2 eras of Cam. We're doing in honor of the Eras tour for Taylor Swift. We're breaking it down into 2 eras
just
of Cam.
Flaming in heat right now. Yeah. Just in the middle of its movie run on DVD release.
We didn't hit Eras tour, but we're gonna do the Cam eras right now. If we break it down, but like pre-video Instagram Cam, before you're coming out with all your videos and just going to shows and stuff. And I think we break it down into post because there's been a lot of really, really, really good shows that have happened as of recently, for sure. As of recently, just absolutely, it's going to be really hard for you. I wish you luck on that. And then
this is a stupid podcast. Really, it's a dumb idea. It's very hard to pick a best show, even in the last 2 months. And so, dumb idea for a podcast. Stupid fucking plan.
Yeah, when you're on a heater like you are right now, it's a really bad podcast because it's really hard to think about. But if we're going honorable mentions here, let's start with some shows that are just you couldn't not mention.
Well, we talked about Rush earlier, and like listening to Rush and seeing Rush is very, very important to like mine and our musical journey. Like Dad was crazy into Rush. When I say that they went all out for stuff, like when Rush came through, like that's when like Dad got a limo, like friends came in from out of town, like people were staying on the couch, and like that was, you know, like what we knew was like the pinnacle, the big show. And so like getting to see those shows was like going to that first Queen show times a million. Like it was like we're going to Rush. And like that's also, I mean, like they were so fucking impressive and so fucking tight at an older age at that time, even like in the, you know, early aughts. And that's so clearly to me like reminiscent of like what Phish is in right now. These guys are 60 or approaching 60 and are just like, you know, putting out and playing some of the best music they've ever played. And so like that was dad's relationship to that. And so like I felt like we were seeing special shows, and like they had bits, and you know they would like either South Park would play a skit before the show, or you get like the Paul Rudd and Jason Segel thing before the show, and they had like, you know, chickens roasting on the stage, and like that. Seeing those guys was like, this is what I will be searching for in my favorite band, you know. Is like
between the comedy and the music aspect, it was just like, oh, this is clearly why we like what we like now. Like these shows and this type of music totally blended us into like what we listen to, what we like go out and try to search for.
And no one gave a shit about it. Like we would like, you couldn't brag about it to anyone. It wasn't like we went and saw Garth Brooks in our hometown. People would be like, holy shit, that's awesome. Like it was like when you would go to the Rush show and you'd be like, oh shit, there's other people here. Right. Like other people like Rush, you know, and like that's also, you know, that's completely the fucking Phish experience. Is like, I don't know anyone who likes this shit, you know. And so like
exactly.
There was so much like pride in being there around Rush fans and like making sure you're like fucking giving it back to the band, because there's like, you know, you're in the fucking Rush show now. Like, and it was so sick to see them. And Neil Peart is like truly still one of the most like enigma, like you were so drawn to watching him, you know, and like I compare everyone who's like that now to him. Like Billy Strings or Trey or, you know, people of that magnitude. I'm like, wow, that's like watching Neil Peart or something. Like
first time being like blown away truly by like a musician. Not that like Alex Lifeson or Geddy Lee, who plays the piano and the bass and sings at the same time. Like, and like Dad always says, like the sound that those guys put out for just being a 3-piece band is always just like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, like
incredible.
The like having the first like kind of musical memories of being like Neil Peart when like the drum set's spinning around him. He's like, and like we had watched those videos so much as kids, like on a Saturday with Dad, or like, you know, and to see that live is like,
we would listen to the drum solos on the album. You wouldn't skip that. You would listen to it, like. And so you're seeing it performed, and you know that he's one of the greatest of all time, and he's like a musician's musician guy. So like, yeah, like when you see someone like Derek Trucks or someone like that now, you're like, man, he's like fucking Neil Peart or something. You know, like that's the first guy who's like that. And so every time I see Rush, which was probably like 4 times, I think it was like R40, Clockwork Angels.
The R40 was a huge show. That was a Summerfest show where Dad got the limo, and I think that also on the bill that night was Jonas Brothers, and I remember that like we had a limo, and we had gone to the Rush show, and there's like thousands of people leaving, and like Dad had
walking to the buses.
yeah, and people are like looking at the limo and stuff, and they're like, it's like Wisconsin, so you think it's someone in the limo because you just don't see limos like going around.
Ever.
I think Dad had rolled down the window. He's like, "Yeah, Nick Jonas is in here."
And they're like, "Oh my God!"
And it was incredible that Dad knew who Nick, like he could actually say a right Jonas Brother. He's like, "Yeah, we got Nick Jonas in here."
Come on, man. Everybody knew the Jonas Brothers at that time. Come on.
Dad did like the Jonas Brothers. I remember that being a tough night for him. It was like a real rock and a hard place for him.
It's just like Rush for the 50th time or Jonas Brothers. Damn it, dude.
All right. At least they played La Via Strangiato tonight.
If they didn't play the Trees, I'd have been pissed I missed Jonas Brothers.
So yeah, I mean, so anytime we saw Rush, for sure.
That's an honorable mention. And
you have a favorite Rush song before we get off on like kind of the
fucking dude. I mean, like there's so many that like I don't ever listen to Rush. I don't ever put on Rush. I don't ever like. But then you do like, and then that's a full day.
The whole
is a full. You have to listen to every fucking thing ever. And so, but I think that like the song I was talking about this earlier or recently with Alice, our friend Alice, after Doggerado in Vale. She was asking what our favorite songs were, and it was very hard to pick. And she's like, "Do you have a song like from your childhood that's important?" And like in the way that Rush is important, I feel like Spirit of Radio kind of like encapsulates that. Like the lyrics, you know, are very like straightforward, like music is the shit and it helps your life. And you know, like the intro guitar riff is like the most classic,
iconic.
Yeah, it's so iconic. Bow, 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 bow. And then like the, you know, awesome. Like there's like the key change that goes into like the fucking reggae part of the song, and it's like the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls. Like there's like there's it's just like so it's such a fucking epic song. Like, and I, you know, like there's certain songs like that are just like so fucking classic that you never listen to them, or you might even skip them. But like when you really listen to a full Spirit of Radio, fucking dude.
I mean, the best. That's awesome.
Begin your day with a friendly voice, a companion, unobtrusive, Spirit of Radio.
And Geddy Lee's got like the friendliest voice of all time.
So friendly. Yeah, dude. Glittering prizes and endless compromises shatter the illusion of integrity. God. I'm like 11 and like on my way to a basketball game, just like,
That's what I was thinking of. It would be like Dump Weed by Blink-182, a Fall Out Boy song, Closer to the Heart, like if you were listening to my iPod.
And then yeah, dude. So another honorable mention that's now like then more my music, and then like truly, man, like at the Parcel show that we were recently at, like that was a crowd that was so fucking like I've never seen a crowd so locked in. And when I really tried to think of other times crowds were that fucking into the show all the way through, dancing, jumping, screaming the lyrics back, where there was a day at Lollapalooza that I saw Chance the Rapper kind of show up as a surprise during a future set, and also saw Mac Miller on the same day. And I know that there's some folks on here who are not like hip hop heads, but like those guys had full bands, dude. They had like such command of their audience. They are icons of our generation. And like
we kind of started with music wise, you know,
dude, I mean, you know, like Mac was like, the thing that both those guys do is they like, when you're listening to them, or like when you're first starting listening to Mac and Chance, especially in that time, you feel like it's your buddy, you know, like you feel like it's someone that you know. And then like when you go to their show and it's like, they are so fully in control. Like those were so like inspiring for me, and like to leave them out of the list feels wrong. Cause I just remember being like, dude, if those guys can do it, like they make you feel like anyone can achieve like something great. Like that's it's not
very
about
regular
like
guys.
Yeah, it's like not about like that they make music about smoking weed and stuff, like, or that like, you know, they have like the sickest snapbacks like that. That wasn't what that's what it was for a lot of people at the time. But I just remember like at those shows, I saw Mac a handful of times and Chance a handful of times, and like those shows, especially if they had full bands and a horn section, it was like very special celebrations of music. And I don't again, same thing, I like almost never listen to Chance the Rapper right now. I listen to Mac Miller for sure, but I like those shows in that time, like from like 2011 to 2014 were like fucking just, or 2016 I should say, like after Coloring Book came out, and it was like, it's in Chicago, it's at Lollapalooza. Chance just fucking like, I mean,
probably thinking, you're like, what is Chance not being like, he's not on the Lollapalooza lineup, what the hell, you know, right?
Yeah, and then he just sat in with everybody that weekend, and we caught the one where he sat in with Future, and it was like, I mean, I think it's like one of the first videos I ever posted on Instagram, and it's like the crowd is just like, it's nuts. I mean, and it was like that the whole time. Like, it was just, and there's like billboards of him in the background with the Coloring Book. It just felt like a very cool, like, man, this is like a Chicago moment. And then Mac, it did feel sick seeing Mac.
Those are kind of like both those guys were definitely peaking right around that time too. With, you know, Chance had Acid Rap, which was like kind of a really, really good mixtape, but that was like his first full album, you know, and like kind of like being like not like taking the Chicago crown over Kanye, but that was like, I mean,
it just sounded so much like how Chicago music should feel, and like,
getting the rapper show with full band too. That's what, you know.
Like Social Experiment was so sick, and like I was very connected to those dudes in that time, and to not bring them up feels fucking wrong, dude. A lot of people went through like a EDM phase, or like saw Pretty Lights a bunch, and I liked those guys a lot.
We were rap kids for a while.
I liked rap. Okay,
we were like hippity hap.
Listen, if you got a good mixtape, I'll pop it on, and I like
a nice
rap.
beat.
All right, so now there's Phish. Let's get into Phish. All right, let's fucking stop dicking around.
Strap in.
There's the Phish, there's the Phish shows that I saw before I started posting the videos, and like there's a lot of those that are super special. Like, you know, the show that I saw when I moved to LA first was the Inglewood show in fall 2020 at the Forum, and they did the LA Woman, and like that was a sick moment, and I fucking listened to that so much.
You're like, jealousy for me there. It's like, come on, dude.
And there was like a tweezer party through the second set. They were kind of like working tweezer through everything, like, and I was just there. It was me and John Delvicio, who, like, you know, John is from Philly, and he does not like hippies. Okay, like he was making fun of me. Like, he's like making every time I go to a show, he's like, all right, what are you seeing tonight? Fucking something. I'm Shakedown Street.
Yeah, he's quoted with one of the funniest jokes. Something on
Shakedown
I think
Street is so funny. But he came with me with the promise that I'd smoke a bunch of weed with him, and we had like seats right behind the stage, and that was sick. And
didn't he get like a bunch of merch before, like right after?
He got everything.
Yeah,
he got everything. There was like a tray, a water bottle, sweatshirt, t-shirt, socks. He fucking a patch. He got everything, dude. Like, that's
good on you. Just bringing a good guy who's gonna buy a bunch of merch. It's good. Nice guy to bring.
He didn't share any of it. He's got all that merch. That's all his. And Phish needs it, you know. Phish needs a guy that gets Phish needs a guy that buys the custom merch, because no one fucking buys their shit.
No one gets their merch, so it's nice that you can help the band out that way.
I just wanted to help out, you know, the boys. Fuck. That's great show. The first show I ever saw, like, it was at Allstate Arena in 2018. We like walk in late because they were only opening like one door for the entry, and so like we were standing outside in line for like an hour. I know.
I was texting you like the whole time. I'm like, what do you mean you're not inside right now?
It's a punch opener, and it was a punch opener that I missed. But like I walk in, still have not gotten a punch or a punch opener, but we walk into Reba, you know, and I've listened to Phish my whole life. You know, Kel made sure that we listened to Phish in the kitchen at Rosati's and at home, and you know, like if I wasn't like. all over Phish, like, you fucking know Reba. And I am just like, wow. Like, it just pretty much gobsmacked from the minute I walk in. And then at the time, I'm running the midnight show at IO. IO is in Chicago, the city, and Allstate Arena is out in Rosemont, which is by the airport, O'Hare. And so we had to leave, not close, and we had to leave the show early. And the guy who brought me, my buddy Andy Urschel, he knew, and he's been to like fucking 300 Phish shows or something, and he was like, it's all good, like, I'm going Saturday, Sunday, so I get it. Like, and we walked out during Sand, and that Sand is like the pro shot video that they put out the next day. It's like the fucking like sickest fucking Sand ever, or whatever. And like, we were also with Andy's friend, who I don't remember his name, and we were walking out and we're in the parking lot. He's like, Sand's probably my favorite song. It's all good. It's fine.
I can't imagine walking out of Phish show, your first Phish show ever.
I'm like profusely apologizing. They're like, dude, it's like truly fine. I'm like, in my mind, it's the best Phish show that's ever been played. I was like, there's no, like, it was amazing. It was so amazing. And I was like, fuck, dude, like, I'm so sorry. And I like couldn't go the next 2 nights for some reason or something. And they were like, I mean, Andy was so cool about it. He's like, fucking Sand.
If I'm those guys, I'm like, yeah, you got a show. See ya. They're playing Sand.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was like. I'm going to have to leave the show early and go over to the, Blue Line and get back down to the city. And they're like, dude, we'll take you. It's all good. I'm like, you don't have to fucking leave this show. Like, and they did take me back, and they stayed for the midnight show, and we performed to like 12 people. And I like,
after just getting your mind blown from a Phish show, you're like, okay.
I have to like shift focus to like this like empty room. You can like hear the hum from the microphone. Like, I'm like, fucking what?
All you can hear in your head is just like
they like they like end the first set with like, they go, I think it was like Mercury, which was sick.
That Mercury was really good too. Yes.
Unbelievable Mercury, that I didn't know that song. And then they, like do Moon Age Daydream. It's like the way they start that song is he's just like, fucking Trey, just like, I'm an alligator. And like the whole place is like,
what?
I'm like such an idiot. I'm like, damn, it's fucking David Bowie.
Do they do this? They like David Bowie?
So sick. Dude, that's it, because Trey likes David Bowie, because I knew that.
I know they have the song named David Bowie, so is that why they do David Bowie? Because
like, yeah, dude, shut the fuck up. And
my favorite thing to do to you.
Yeah, and then they ended off the first set with Walls of the Cave, and we're just at set break. I'm just like, I just fucking, and the looks on those guys' faces were like, yep. Pretty sick.
That was like a 3.5. Yeah, that was a pretty good.
The Alpine. Fuck, we have like, whatever, dude. We got time.
Yep. We're live.
The Alpine Dead & Co. show, it was pretty funny and like formative for that's like the beginning of like. That
was not our first show together, but that was our second time seeing Dead & Company together, and that was our first time going to Alpine Valley together. You had been Dave Matthews. I had not been to Alpine Valley. I was too young for mom and dad. I could not go to Alpine Valley. I don't understand why. But yeah, that was
2017.
And yeah,
dude, like, that's like, I am working at the dispensary, or no, wait, no, not yet. I got some really good acid somehow from someone. I forgot.
Yes.
But I was like, you drive up. I'm going to take my acid like as we're driving up from Chicago.
Because I picked you up because I was working at the golf course in Illinois. So I drove down, picked you up.
And we drove up to Alpine from Chicago. And I'm like, you take yours like when we get to the show, and I'll drive us home. I'll probably not be, crackling like a Pepsi at that point,
Could have just stayed at our parents' house that is like 25 minutes away, decided not that we should just drive back to Chicago.
Yeah. We're like, nah, that would be fucking really awesome and like super chill. Let's just drive all the way back to Chicago after Alpine Valley taking acid all day. And we went on Saturday, but we had tickets for Friday, and we found that out after sitting in the same situation. There was like only one gate open at Alpine. The line was forever. I'm like fucking.
I bought those tickets like 3 months in advance.
Yeah, and I'm like really high, and you're just starting to get high, and it's like that type of high on psychedelics where you can hear every conversation in the whole line, and people are like, "This is really bad. Wow, this line's really long." Like, oh, this is kind of like when people got smashed in '87 or whatever. Or like, and
it's like when that guy died.
What? Or like, we should all just rush to that one gate. Yeah, let's all rush to that one gate. And I'm just like, this is bad. So we finally get up to the fucking gate, and it's a bunch of just like high school kids who live in that county, you know, in Alpine, that are working for Live Nation for the day. And he takes our 2 tickets, and it's like, and he's like, these tickets are for yesterday. I'm really sorry. And we're like, well, what? And I like, it's just I like look back at the line, and it looks like it is the line of people that are exiting Egypt. Like from like it is
45,000 people long.
It is
looks
just
like 45,000.
Forever. He's like, you're gonna have to get tickets, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that kid said something to me like, I've never seen this happen before, and it was like before, and I was like,
and we like look back, and he's like, you're just gonna have to go over to the ticket office right over here to the right, and there's like a little bit of fencing and a lot of people. All I can see is the people. I can't see the fencing. I can't compute anything.
You turned to me, you're like, I don't have my wallet. I'm like, that's not the worry. I have my
you're like,
wallet.
I'll get the tickets, like, you know. And you know, luckily Alpine Valley is the biggest lawn ever. There's always usually it doesn't really sell out. Yeah. And so
we didn't know that though.
There's like a little gap in the fence that's like as big as, you know, maybe our waists, and that's like where they're trying to get people to leave to go buy tickets, but no one pointed us in that direction, and it's not their fault. We were fucking way too high on acid, and by the time we like crept over,
what should we do? What do we do?
We're like, wait, hold on, maybe we could get right through this little part of the fence right here, and like kind of like stepped our foot out like it was like. Yeah, like stepped our foot out like it was going to be like water or something, like feeling around.
Like if it was ice that was going to break.
Yeah, and
trying to get
when we slipped through the fence, like everybody in the line erupted with applause, like making fun of us because we figured out. They're like, yeah, all these deadheads.
We were like whispering to each other for like 10 minutes. We're like, dude, if we can just do this, and then we can get over there, dude, it'll be fine. We did it.
Fully insane. We were like fully fear and loathing talking to each other.
Yeah.
And the crowd, and like that snapped me out of it. And then all of a sudden I could see everything. All of a sudden I could see the fence. I could see.
I just remember we were walking for a little bit after that.
Damn
and
it.
Then you looked at me, you're like, they were definitely making fun of us, though, right? And then I was like, yeah. And then we just started like laughing, just the hardest we've ever laughed.
Yeah, dude. I mean, because like then just picturing, I could fully picture the whole thing they saw. I was like, God damn it! Like that is
me with like brutal. The most just like lamest bootleg Grateful Dead shirt on. You with the shirt that says, this is my first Dead and Company show, and we're.
It's just like it was just like the tour merch from the last Dead and Company show we went to, and it was fresh. Is that a brand new shirt? Remember Jamal?
Yeah.
Jamal?
That was when you were working at this dispensary, and
that's when me and like weed from my buddy Jamal, who had free samples for us, and I had just bought the fresh Dead and Co shirt, and we knock on the door. He opens the door, and he goes, "What is that? A brand new shirt?" And you fucking just
laughed so hard. I was
laughed your ass off.
Someone roasting my brother. Yes,
I was like the kid in the memes that they make fun of with the Dead and Co thing. I mean,
we've always been those kids.
Let's be real.
Before we started occurring heady points lately, we were just like 2 dorks going to shows, and that is probably our peak height of dorkness level.
Just massive dorkness. We started stepping. I mean, I want to say right now that the Alpine 2019 Phish run is, I feel like, you know, for Midwest kids, we don't get the amount of shows that East Coast kids do, and it felt like those 3 shows we got 15 shows worth of experience points, you know, like that, like
that those was our 3 shows run.
Yep. And it was just, dude, like, I mean, those shows were so classic at such a classic venue. they, just yielded this. I mean, that Sunday show yields one of the sickest shows ever.
Yeah, that was like the bonk on the head moment. Like we had seen a couple Phish shows separately and been some good shows, and that was like, oh man, like
I've said it before that like I really loved Phish beforehand, and I had then seen Phish and it was sick, but that weekend like tattooed Phish on my soul for the rest of my life, dude. Like it was like, so, yeah, I mean the Harry Hood on Saturday, the Saturday show is so overlooked. Like that Sunday in 2019 is amazing, and it's got
the Friday show. They opened
the Friday show's amazing too. Yeah,
they open with sand. When the last Phish show you saw, you walked out during the sand and missed the sand, and then they were like, "Oh, hey, Cam, by the way, here was that sand that you missed."
Yep.
Yeah,
and what was I doing during that sand? I was like, the last Phish show that I went to, they didn't play sand, or I walked out during sand. Now they're playing sand. And it's like, and you're like, shut the fuck up.
That was our first Phish shows together, right? That was
I had seen. Damn, you're gonna suck at this, huh?
We got to our spot on the lawn, and it was really, really hot, and we had started partying a little bit early, and Cam gets to our spot, and I'm like looking around Alpine. I've never been there. I turn to Cam. He's got his shirt off, his shoes and socks off, and he's just like, "This is gonna be awesome."
Pop that top, dude.
I'm like, yeah, he was popping tops before he even knew to pop the top. That
sucked.
Yeah, that 2019 run was the start of where a lot of bits were created, and where a lot of bits stem from, and just kind of you were really deep into your comedy, and not doing any Phish related jam band comedy because you're like, people probably don't think that's funny, or they wouldn't
or get it. Yeah, I was trying to do stuff that people liked.
Yeah, those jokes were funny for me and Willie, and that's it. And that's who we would do those jokes with. But yeah, those were our first Phish shows together. We had, like I said, gone to a couple separate Phish shows, but we were finally living both in Illinois. I lived there in summer, and we went up to our parents' house and stayed the weekend, and would just drive back and forth to the shows. And I remember specifically the Squirming Coil from the first show, and
bawled your eyes out, dude.
Yeah, I think I knew Squirming Coil, but it's probably one of those songs. This is early in my kind of like a couple years into Phish, and
I haven't seen it live. That piano solo surprises you at the end, and it was a spotlight on Page, and he did that. He looked at his hands after he finished the thing, and he looked at Alpine, and then he was just like, "We love it here."
And they hadn't been there in a while, and I was just like overcome with finally being able to do this with you, because like we were finally like peaking with our Phish stuff, and we're both like liking it, and we can both like, we want to go to shows, and we're both together now, and it had been a long time coming. So
yeah, dude, and it just it just delivered on a huge level, and Alpine is like such a monumental place for me, and I feel like you knew that. I feel like that was like a similar thing of like me going to see Queen with Dad. It was like, I'd done all the Alpine runs with all my buddies, and you hung out with all my buddies. You're like, I don't know.
Couldn't go to Dave Matthews. Please let me go to Dave.
When like really, I mean, come on. I mean, what were we doing? Smoking bowls?
Yeah, number 41 changed my life. Okay,
dude.
It's what I wore in high school because of Dave. No. But the shows with you, and then like growing up hearing like Kellen went to like old Pearl Jam shows there, and Mom and Dad always had the biggest stories of like they'd stay at the inn there, and
Mom saw the Stevie Ray Vaughan last show of his life there, and so like Dad,
I think that was the culminating of all those stories, and having like it's like we have like a family past there. And I was like, finally, I'm like getting like my moment here, and it's with Cam, and it's with a rekindled friendship from like one of your first friendships ever, our buddy Will. We grew up with Will, our family. You played baseball with him and flag football and everything. Went to separate high schools, but remained like friends and stuff. But
it's that thing of like, in high school, like you're so in the world of your fucking high school, and so like we're not in the same. We're not playing sports. We're not playing. We're not doing anything together, and we just kind of bumped into him that weekend. We're like, we knew that he liked Phish, but I wasn't really talking to Willie at that time. And we ended up, yeah, I mean, like from that weekend now, this amazing friendship like that is the group chat of me, you, and Willie is where everything, all the comedy that I've done was born, and Willie is like, just listening to you guys talk about a show, like driving back from Alpine after those shows, I'm like sober on one night so I can drive us back.
And you and Willie are like, that Willie's gonna drive. Like
Willie's like yeah, got like doing beers. He's doing beers.
He was doing beers, dude, that whole weekend.
And like you guys both have like the biggest balloons you've ever seen, just sucking them down. I'm like, we're in the back roads of Wisconsin with cops that are just licking their chops, like, and you guys are just screaming and playing fucking Christopher Cross or some shit. And I'm like, all right, and like just the things that would get said in the back of that car is like the beginning of all that stuff. I mean, we just laugh so hard after these
Willie
shows.
Is the funniest person to me still, I think. Maybe like Willie is the funniest person who is not trying to be funny. He's actually like saying,
he's not at all.
He's saying
always,
things.
I wish I was funny like you. I'm like, dude, you are so much funnier than me.
That was the birth of your stickers. Were like that. Was that Saturday? Because Friday he had pits with Killer, which is even funnier that Killer had pits. That Killer had like a big gold chain on and like a Magic Johnson jersey. But and then the next 2 nights we did lawns with Will, and
I mean, like, he is so funny. Like, I mean, he's just so into the show, and he's so concerned about what he's gonna get, like what songs he's gonna see that night and stuff.
He's big into song placement, yeah.
And there's sometimes you'll get a song and he fucking explodes and you have no idea why. It's like a Vultures, and he's like, yes, and you're like, what? Okay. And then there's sometimes he's just I mean, it's worse than the Packers losing the Super Bowl. It's like we got Frost, right? Was that it?
It was Shade.
It was Shade, and no, it might have been Leaves. I think it was like Moonlight Dances.
It was Shade, I think.
Whatever it was, he put both of his hands over his head like this and like folded them on top of his head, and he goes, Trey knows better than to play this right here. And just, we laughed about it in that moment, and then later on that night, like, we're driving home, and I'm like, you said Trey knows better than to play right
and
here.
And he does,
dude. Like, we're on a heater, dude. Like, we got fucking Yamar, and like we got.
How are you gonna play like Yamar and Mama Dance and be like, yeah, okay, here we go. Here's Shade.
Trey knows that like we're in the middle of a classic Phish summer show, and he's just gonna like ripcord us into Shade, and like I don't know. I know that he does like better. I know,
but he also knows like every show can't be the show, so he's got to tame people down sometimes. He can't just be.
I know, dude. He's got to do it for Sunday, dude. But
every show can't,
dude.
Yeah.
It's like we could have done like, I don't know, 7 Below right there. Like, he's like,
I don't know. Yeah. There's plenty of songs.
And he like, and we laugh at that, but you and I have both also said some shit that's like, what, dude? Like, about No Tila. Yeah, like that's totally your thing. And so there's just a million little lines that like got influenced through that time, and Phish Alpine 2019 is that, but we now have to move into post videos.
Okay, well, first of all, you weren't really supposed to control the conversation. Like I said, you were a guest. You're coming on my.
Damn it!
You're coming on my show.
I mean, is that good, or like what is that what you want? Like,
that's not in the notes that you sent me. But yeah, we could really talk for several hours about every show that's ever really gone down, and we've been really, really, really lucky as of late to see some absolutely huge shows.
It's just like, I mean, I really don't know how to encapsulate, like, we're talking like Dick's, Goosemas, both Sphere weekends, both the festivals that I got to go with to Festesia or from Festesia, this Parcels weekend, meeting Derek Truck's band recently, Goose at the Cap and doing that, like all of that. all of those weekends are like the best weekends of my life. And like, it's this like crazy thing where I do comedy and I've been focused on doing comedy, and I love music and I love being a fan of things. I love like having a fandom towards something. I think that that's like one of the purest things you can have in your life. And I also think that from that, because it's pure and an honest thing, can be fucking really funny. And so especially Phish fans, like, of course. And so yeah, I mean, like, now that people associate jokes and humor with us when they see us at shows and stuff, like, I feel like that's something that we tried to set up around people that we were going to stand next to at shows anyway. Like, we were going to joke around with them or do little bits or like fuck with them a little bit, and then they'd be like, you know, like, I hear people's stories about their shows. Like, that was already something that you and I like were really, really fucking good at, I felt. And, you know, we are younger than a lot of Phish fans, so we always just try to like prove that we should be there. And like, I am, super lucky that people that have taken to the comedy and stuff, and it's super fun. And like, the opportunity to go see shows now, or, you know, that I have to like say no to some shows that are like, fuck, that would never even be on the table for me. Like, all the shows that you heard about before, like, just they came through town. Like, we weren't traveling to fucking Red Rocks to see Parcels. Like, we weren't.
No, yeah, that wasn't us. Like I said, we were two just dorks. It's like, okay, finally they're at least like 30 minutes away. Like, we were huge fans, but it's not like we're the kids that are like, all right, well, we're going on tour for summer. That's what we're doing.
We couldn't do it. I mean,
that's not who we were, and we wanted to be, and we didn't really see a way to do it. The only people that we knew that were going to the shows that we went to were your other brother, me, and then our buddy Willie, who also lives in that area. So just the start of the videos, and meeting or getting in contact with guys like Sean Long Strange Putt and Connor Long Strange Niche and No Simple Roads, meeting them at Hollywood Bowl
and Sax, and
still need to meet Sax. We can do that in Mongreen, but yeah,
all the people that we've met out here, and like, you know, it's Marina, and, you know, like, it's just like it's like a dream all the time, and there's just more stuff that's going on all the time. And I hope that people know that it's fully appreciated, all of the like love that you guys give, and all of the shows that we're seeing. Like, we are fucking loving it. Like,
I think we used to go to shows and see groups of people and not be like, man, I love going to shows with you, and I love that this is me, you, and we have this thing, but it's like, it looks so fun that there's like 8 or 9 of them, and they're all together, and there's like a whole group, and they have like, they can all like share in the groove and know that they all have a forward thinking, and they all think the same way. And we just have this huge group of people and this really big support staff that has just grown. And every time I've gotten to get put into your group, it's just like the best people possible, and they're all so welcoming, and they're all excited to meet you, and they want to know who you are and what you do. And I know that, we, like you said, we are so appreciative, me and you, of all the people in this past year that we have gotten to get to know and go to shows with. It's
dude. And like, there's still no one in the world that I'm more comfortable with seeing a show with than you. I mean, like, the main, like, it's post videos, but it's like just post videos, is that Berkeley run last spring, and that, you know,
California tour, that was the closest we got to going on tour. 6 shows
you had,
in 7 days.
You came out to see me, and we drove up to the Bay Area, and we like going to this fucking amazing venue, Berkeley, and like, because it's the two of us and it's all GA, that's the closest we had ever been to the band too. And like,
that was pretty surreal in general. We just been long kids and seen Phish and just loving the music. But like we say all the time when we talk about Berkeley, it's like to see them like work through it up there and see all the signals and the cues, and just
for a 46-minute tweezer, you know, like
Mike's got this balancing beam that's making noises.
And it was like real improvisation, and that's what we love out of those guys. And like it really felt like you were like right in the soup with them. And I mean, yeah, that night is one of the best nights that we've ever had together, and it lives in this moment that's like right before people, like there was like maybe one guy in the bathroom. I was like, hey, did you make that fucking video?
I think that's like
sick,
right
dude.
around, that was right around when you were starting. You're like, yeah, there's this kid like Long Strange Pub that like keeps telling me my videos are funny, and you like have some cool merch. And like to look back on that, like not like Sean and Connor are just like the boys now. They're the guys, you know, like
I mean, like Sean and Connor have been like the best friends in the world to me over the last year. And and we just joke about how it's only been a year. Like we were always like, we'll see a picture from like Dick's last year and we're like, we were kids, you know, because it feels like it feels like I've known those guys forever. And they were like so, and still are so fucking supportive of the shit right away, like with nothing to gain. Like they do not want anything out of, you know, they're just like, this is really funny and we like funny stuff. And like the best fucking guys to go to shows with, the best fucking guys to like be in a group chat with, talking about funny stuff. I mean, and yeah, like they took you in, hadn't even met you, and they were like, you know, like hanging out like as if you were their brother too. And yeah, I mean, like that, the show's like, yeah, fucking seeing Phish at the Sphere, like amazing opportunity. The fucking hangs that weekend were just
to
as
know
high
that when
here
people
as
are
the fucking performance.
When people are grabbing tickets, they're like thinking of you. They're like, oh, okay, like this show's about to come out. Like you're on like the list of people now that like, hey, you're coming with us, right? It's
yeah. And I like Connor like had scored 4 tickets on the ticket drop, and it was like, you know, like, good for you, dude. You're going to heaven. That's awesome. He's like, yeah, dude, you're going too. And you're like, what?
You like know, you said, I'm like, I don't even know this guy. You're like, yeah, Connor got you Sphere tickets. I was like, what? This is my worst nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And yeah, it's just like I think about some of the friends that our parents had in their lives for their whole lives and stuff, and like the amazing stuff that they got to do. And I remember hearing their stories of Alpine and like seeing the Who and seeing Rush and seeing Frank Zappa and, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and being like, when I was young, being like, fuck, like all I've got is fucking Creed and like everything sucks.
We're in it right now. Like, we're actually doing those stories as we speak.
We're doing it like you wouldn't fucking believe, man. Like,
and we're doing it better than anyone around.
Better than everyone, and we're better than that. And no, it's like fucking, it's the coolest shit in the world. And I just, yeah, it is not lost on me. The best show I ever saw in my life. My best show ever.
Yeah. So coming back to this podcast, best show ever. What was your best show that you've ever seen? Because we're just not going to get to it if you don't actually do this podcast. Like you're running it now. You're running.
Yeah. You did a really good job, but the guest got out of control.
Yeah, I can't even. I can't keep it. I can't stop it. You're like, okay.
Oh yeah, I've got the record button. We can go as long. I got the kill switch. You can end your call, and I'm still going to be on the other end of the call talking about my best show ever, the best show I ever saw. And this encapsulates a lot of the things that we've talked about, so we don't have to go completely into depth about it. And it is a show that gets talked about a lot in Phish lore, but 8/6/21 Phish at the Ruoff Mortgage Center Amphitheater.
Where?
Deer Creek.
Okay. Yeah.
We had those tickets through COVID, and they, you know,
seems like we had those tickets since Alpine 19.
Truly, like since the day we got back from Alpine 19, it felt like we had those tickets. And, you know, that was our first shows seeing them back. And that night, like start to finish show wise, is, you know, like there's that a lot of that weekend blends together for me. So like some of this might be a Saturday night or Sunday night thing, because those shows are also fucking awesome. Just like in the Alpine weekend we were talking about, like those other 2 shows shouldn't be overlooked. They're great.
The whole weekend.
But it was so funny. Like we were laughing our asses off. Like we stayed at this lake house with this guy named Bob, and Bob drove us to and from the shows. And I was like designated, like sit in the front and talk to Bob guy. And you guys were like, you know, fucking in the back already, like, you know, on whatever you're on, like just laughing at me having like normal conversation with Bob, you know. And then like
Bob was like a theater guy, I think, right? And that's why we were laughing so hard, because you guys were like talking.
And Bob does not look it. Bob looks like he is the most conservative motherfucker in the world. And he's like, you know, I actually played Hamlet in the local production recently. And I was like, what? Bob? No fucking way.
Bob lived 15 minutes from Deer Creek and had never been to Deer Creek.
Never went one time in his life. He didn't even know where it was. He was like, I think it's right over here. I'm like, there's two things over here. It was like, yeah. And you know, that was like right before I was about to move out to LA. And you know, like we got to do that show with Kel, and you know, Kel is 10 years older than us. He's our older head brother. And you know, hasn't always been in the space to be able to go to shows. Like Kel with health stuff, with dependency stuff, with addiction stuff, like struggles like no other. And fucking that weekend, like in that time of his life, in our lives, he was like very good. He was very, you know, clean and sober and with us and able to be at a Phish show in that environment, which is also like not easy to do if you're fucking trying to not do drugs. And he, you know, we got this like really special show that you could tell was a special show. And we're there with him and his buddy Tony, who is now like an uncle to us, and, you know, huge positive force in Kel's life and stuff. And we knew that, you know, and so like just being there with like you, me, Willie, Tony, and Kel, Deer Creek, this like classic venue that those guys had been to and were telling us stories about the 90s and 2000s runs, and like we just get the fucking weirdest simple of all time. And you know, like
the show started off with, it's probably one of my favorite starters ever to a show, dude. That Carini was absolutely ridiculous, and that kind of started a little slew of Carinis that we would get in the next 3 years that were just always just trying to top that Carini that we got at Deer Creek. Trey came out in all white,
Jedi
white, just absolutely right
pure as the driven
show.
Snow.
Right into the show, just like the first, it's like ingrained in my head. The first notes that he hits, like when they go into the Carini jam, were just like straight blissful, really peaky notes, and just
it's daytime, and we're outside, and when it starts, it's like, they're not supposed to do Carini.
They came
in
on
the
really
daytime.
They
came and it just was like on from there. It's like, yeah,
they had
love
shows before, but I think they were ready for this venue. It had been a while since they've been to Deer Creek, and I think it was the first 3-night run of the tour. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but it went Carini, Wolfman, Sand.
Roof off. Yeah, and it was just, I mean, the place at the end of the Sand is just exploding with cheers, and like people were so, oh man, people were so happy to be there, and people were so happy that we were out of COVID, and like we were all like back at shows, and like, oh man, it was like, and then as it got dark outside, like the show just got like the fucking weird, like that simple is like, there's a part where Trey sends a note down, and that simple, he's like, and I look over at you and Kel, and you guys are like terrified looking at and like
there are a lot of terrifying parts of that. And, when they were getting into that jam, and it was the My Woman from Tokyo tease, it's like wah, 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 and then like getting like really like the cosmic where alien noises where it's like and I'm like, I have not heard Phish make these noises before. Like when you're like, okay, I've been to some shows.
It's like this like ladder of like Pink Floyd, metal some shit or whatever. And like
I had been chasing Simple at every show that I wanted to go to. I'd seen Phish a good amount of times, and I was like, I want Simple. And then I always say it too. I still say it. I'm like, I want a classic Simple that's like 6-7 minutes, and it's a nice like peaking and then trips you off down. And that was just the most opposite ever.
They showed you to the edge of the spaceship, opened up the porthole, and kicked you the fuck out. And it was like, yeah, that jam was nuts. And it felt like weird and evil at parts and super fucking cool at parts after they had done a bunch of blissful jamming in the first set. And the Blaze On that came after it, like we're 10-15 minutes into that Blaze On, and we're
Blaze On was actually first before. It was AC/DC Bag Blaze On. Blaze On jam was first. Let me correct you. This is classic me right now. This is classic you.
This is how it goes. This is very similar to a lot of the conversations we've
remember
had.
His favorite show, so that's good.
Yep, and then they played Franklin's Tower, and it was fucking just.
That was the Terrapin Station show. Actually, it was pretty nuts. But yeah, that Blaze On is, I think, my favorite jam I've ever seen live. Like that jam was perfect bliss. Really kind of, it was probably a little Trey centered, and his tone there is like the tone that he had there. I think of like, it's like the when you turn to your like I love you guys tone. Like Trey's playing right now, and he's
I love you guys.
He's hitting it so
I love you guys.
I'm like I fucking love you guys. I'm just like, and he's like just like he knows what he's doing there. And that jam,
we don't even have to play a segment of audio. People know the I love you guys part of the jam.
Exactly.
Like, I fucking love you again.
And then we get in between the Blaze On, we get a Rage and Wilson.
Yeah.
And that just is another just crowd, just so much energy throughout the whole entire show. And then it got into that Simple. And that was so much energy, but also a lot of like wide-eyed people. Like, what is,
I remember looking around at people being like, let's type 2, and like they're hitting type 2, and then it was like, I don't know what this is. Like you said, like we, those like making noises that you haven't heard the band make, and that was 2021 when there's like a lot of goofy stuff going on with the like and the like and like all that stuff, and so they're playing all of that. There was a lot of that stuff like going on through the show, which was sweet, like, and then that was like weird. They weren't doing any of those noises. It was like, super strange. And I remember like, just having Kel and Tony there with us to like right after the show be like, that's one of the best Simples I've ever seen. And you got like guys who were, in our mind has seen the real shows. Like we're still even though we're getting these amazing 3.0 shows, we're like, that's the real Phish or whatever.
You don't need the validation, but
then they're like, that was really fucking exceptional. Yes. And you're like, yes, dude, yes.
Nice. Willie always said after that show, he's like, that was the most like going in to the show, everyone's like, ah! And then he's like, when we were leaving the show, it was dead silent.
Yeah. It was not the cheering audience. People were like a little like, whoa.
It was Friday. It was the first show. People just got off of work a couple hours ago. Okay.
And then, I mean, just as far as Phish shows go, and then like that's the, like I said, I have the relationship with Bob at this point, and Deer Creek was actually a pretty poppin' balloon scene for the Midwest. Usually we don't do it like that in Wisconsin or in Chicago.
No lot seen at Alpine, and there was no rules
popping
at Deer Creek.
Lawless, and you guys were like knocking down balloons, and I've become more of a balloon guy recently. Honestly, since the Berkeley weekend, got some really good gas, and everyone was doing it outside, so it was nice. You just had to hide it a lot in Chicago and Wisconsin. It wasn't. I'm not doing that.
I'm not gonna be the guy busted for gas.
But you guys are like trying to like do balloons and walk to the car, and like Bob is on the like it's not. There's no one else out there, just Bob on the road in this country road.
Do one more walk down straight shakedown. You're like, no.
I'm like, guys, Bob is right. He can see us. And you're like, it's fine, Kieran. And you guys just laughing and being like, it's totally fine. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to Bob, like
that was the time Tony had like a massive balloon in his mouth. He's like, all right, let's like finish this. And then he like, there's a big cop car right next to us. And Tony like goes, we actually have to have your lights on, okay? Like telling the cop that how to be.
You're actually supposed to have your lights on if you're driving your vehicle.
You have to have your lights on. Let's go, Kyle. I like
see the cop as he's like crushing the balloon like with his elbow. He's like, like putting it down as hard as he fucking can. And he's just like, if you're moving your vehicle, you have to have your lights on at night.
You should know that. Looking at me, and I'm just like, what?
His face is blue. Yeah, I mean, just God, dude. And I mean that. And then we go home, and Bob had like a hot tub for us, and like we paid like nothing for that Airbnb. I don't know what the deal was, but like it was just super. It was so ideal. It was a beautiful night. Like we're just out there.
And Willie sang us Waylon Jennings, and he sang us Waylon Jennings songs, and we went to the hot tub, and it was not hot. It was it was just like rainwater. It was like not warm.
Yeah, but it was so awesome.
It was awesome.
We're just like listening to fucking Robert Palmer songs, and so much actual Robert Palmer played.
Yeah,
that weekend.
Mm-hmm. That was
Addicted to Love, dude.
You might as well face it.
We were all dancing to Addicted to Love, and like just like walking around doing the thing.
Yeah, dude, you might as well fucking face it. Actually,
you might as well face it.
You're addicted to love. Yeah, it was like you said, it was the most special weekend for a lot of different reasons. A lot of bits came out of that. Having our best friend, having Kellen's best friend, having Kellen, we all drove down there separately. It's like we meet up at the lake house.
Yes. Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, and
yeah,
you like chase
such
that
a classic
weekend.
Yeah,
if you weren't already locked into it, that is the feeling that we've been chasing for every show that we go to. And
I love, like, it's been so cool to see them out on the West Coast at like the Hollywood Bowl and shit. Like that's one of the, that weekend is also right up there. And I mean, the Greek, a whole weekend, amazing weekend with amazing shows that were almost, you could say are just as good. But like that's, we're Midwest dudes, and we got Alpine and Deer Creek and the United Center and, Northerly Isle for better or worse. And, fucking like, I love those places. And I love a summer day in the Midwest
summer tour
is just fucking the best. Yeah. And so, and we've always fantasized that every year we're like, this is the year we get to MSG, or this is the year we go out and do SPAC or something. And the East Coast is absolutely their home turf, and they play their best shows out there, and fuck you guys and whatever. Like, you guys are getting all the cool East Coast shows, but there's
some really big heat in the Midwest though.
We hold those Alpine shows very sacred, very close to home. So if you're ever online and you're ripping on, some Midwest guy for not having a lot of shows or like being too excited about Alpine, you got to fucking give it to us, man. We love it. We love it.
It's the worst slot scene at a Phish show, and it is probably some of the best venue you can be in. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that the lawn's too steep and my knees hurt after the show. It's not that bad. Okay.
They've almost closed that place down so many times, and it's never been like the brought to you by Pepsi Alpine Valley. Like, it's always been,
it's not the roof.
It looks exactly like if you watch Downhill from Here with Grateful Dead. That's what it looks like when you go to a show there, no matter what. And it's just the best. And so, and I love a place that can, you like going to the Sphere, fucking sick. The future is going to be awesome, but like, you really can't recreate like an awesome amphitheater outdoors for a jam show. It's just we've done
the pit there, and we've done the Pavs, and we like the lawn there. The lawn's awesome.
Give me the lawn.
Give me the lawn. Lawn. I need space to get these grooves out. I like being barefoot.
That top.
I gotta pop the top. I gotta get my shoes up. I gotta get my feet in the grass.
Yeah, dude. And just a special place. And you know, there's a lot about it that is a hassle, but I think that is part of, you know, Phish, like when they set up their festivals back in the day, they really wanted to try to get people to go out to the middle of nowhere and feel like they are like, you know, in Phish world, you know, and they're not. And that's when you're driving onto Alpine and you get out there and you're parking in the grass. So like, that's what it feels like. It feels super fucking classic. And I cannot wait, buddy, to be back there with you.
Yeah. Speaking of, what do you got on the docket coming up? What is kind of next? We're kind of in that little lull right before summer tour is about to start for the Phish. We got Goose stuff going on. I don't think you're hitting any of that.
No, because I don't fuck with those guys. I think they're stupid idiots and bad people.
Yeah, I think they're diet Phish, you know.
I think they're just copying Phish. They don't have one song that sounds even remotely close to any Phish song, but they're copying Phish. I will see. We don't have to do that forever. I will. I'll be at the Oregon Country Fair in July. I'm super fucking stoked on that.
Not really just attending, not just attending the Oregon County Fair. I mean, what? Huh?
Super fucking stoked on that. This will come out after that. And I don't, that is fucking sick. It's the Veneta grounds. It's the headiest shit in the world. And like we talked about earlier, we're dorks. And so I'm going to try to fake it around these people and make them think I might be heady when I'm just.
I want to know how many. I want to know how many first time.
Yeah.
People are going to look at you and be like, it's your first time here.
They're like, are you security? You look like a police officer. You look like you're fresh out of the academy. Doing that. I'm doing fucking Alpine Valley for Phish. That's
we're going to Alpine.
That's the summer tour stop I'll be at. And then I'll be doing Mondegreen.
Yep. I'm doing Alpine and Mondegreen. We're finally getting to Phish Fest. That is
man.
That, I mean, talk about cool things, talk about Alpine, talk about all the cool shows. We want to go to. We want to go to the.
We're really excited. We're both really excited.
We want to go to Madison Square Garden. We want to go to other places, but we wanted a Phish Fest more than anything. I think it's. I don't know.
That feels classic.
I don't even know what to think. Yeah.
We've missed out on a lot of cool MSGs, and that's obvious and very clear. But you know, like we have never gotten to go to any of the cool big festivals that feels like classic Phish, and you know, they're like in this mode where they're creating the coolest shit possible all the time.
They're hot right now.
They're so hot, you know, and I cannot wait to see the world they create for us. I'll be in the Glen Close camping, so I, you know, can't wait to know what that means. And like it's
the
just
secret
fucking
set. Can't wait for a secret set.
And that group of people that you talked about that we're so thankful that we know, like that's who we get this fucking fat group of pros that are all awesome and great folks. Just like so excited to be with that group of people, with you, with Jess, with, you know, all the names that we mentioned. Like it's just gonna be the sickest. And like there's obviously a lot of opportunities to like do interviews or make content, and I don't want to do any of that shit. I want to fucking just enjoy the weekend and you know, take in a bunch of Phish shows. It's just it's sick as hell, dude. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Dude, you killed it. Great episode, man.
This was I think when you were about to start season 3, I don't know if you texted me or I texted you. If I texted you, it was a joke that you actually were like, yeah, do this. I was like, yeah, dude, I'll interview you.
Yeah, don't do that shit around me.
You're like, no, that's perfect. And we told
that's kind of how this podcast happened. I was like, I'm gonna pitch RJ a podcast and I'm gonna interview a bunch of people, and you're like, all right, that's probably not gonna fucking happen.
And then you text me the next day, you're like, yeah, he's giving me like a bunch of equipment, and he's like, sorry, I can't give you money. And I was like, what?
RJ's fucking the best for allowing this to happen. So
this has been absolutely awesome. I feel like I needed redemption after the first podcast ever that you did with Willie when we were just in that shitty hotel that I booked for 4 people that had 1 bed in it. So, so this feels like a real coming.
We're like, yeah, we're gonna record the first episode of this podcast that I'm starting, me, you, and Willie, and we recorded it like 15 minutes after finding out that we were all gonna have to share 1 bed between 4 grown men.
And you're like, yeah, it's like 5:15, show's at 6:30, so let me just set up my mic. And I'm like, what? Because I like get a little. I've been known to get like a little antsy before a show. So.
Oh yeah, you've never spazzed the fuck out before a show.
Yeah, I've never happened. Like I'm pretty chill.
You've never
usually
completely fucking snapped on me before a show.
I'm like rubbing my neck right now. But yeah, just it's incredible to see what you have done with this whole podcast and what it's come to be and the work you put into it. It's absolutely awesome. It's incredible to just see that you set up this thing, kind of had this little small idea, and it's become so awesome. I said awesome twice, but that's what it is.
Yeah, do you want to do that again?
Yeah. And yeah, man. It's really, really cool to tell people that you're doing what you truly want to do, and you don't care the money that comes or the views that comes or how it gets put out. You're just doing this because you truly love it, and it's really cool. You be my older brother.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
I've gotten to do a bunch of cool stuff over the last year, and there's a lot of it that I didn't get to do with you, dude. And I do a lot of telling your tale. I do a lot of telling your tale to folks, about like how you're my headier brother. You're the kid that like would truly appreciate all this. And I'm so glad that you want to share with me, dude. Like, you guys got to know, Kyle does not like being on camera, does not like being recorded, and just decided to do this for an hour and a half, and he knows I'm going to post it. Yep. And so yeah, man, like, we're going to keep doing stuff together, and we're going to keep being at awesome shows together. And I could not be more proud of how you are to people at shows. You are the peak of who you are when you're out at those places, and you show love to people like I never see in other parts of your life, and to complete strangers. And and like it's truly a joy to be around, and I love to experience it. And I just end up telling everybody, I'm like, wait till you're at a show with Kyle. He's me times a million, and if we're together, it's you're all fucked. And it's like it's been having you at these shows recently and getting across the putt path and the niche path, and Alice and Meg and all these people, and Marina, and yeah, man, it just feels like we are pretty blessed boys right now. The end of this is gonna suck for people to listen to. They're gonna be like, all right, we get it. You're fucking.
My brother is just so great, and I just like love. He's just like my older brother, and he's just so sick.
Like, we just do all this like sick shit, and we're like so like thankful, and everyone's just like, shut the fuck up, dude.
And everyone in our life is so awesome, and they do great things for us, and
best friends, and like it's like so great, and everyone's just like, all right, cool. I know who to kick the shit out of at Mondegreen. You fucking
the Love and Light brothers over here.
Yeah, Jesus, you guys are like more but people. If the song "More" was a guy right now,
I think that's the name of the podcast.
If the song "More" was a guy,
everyone's like, all right, let's go to the car.
Nah, this year's been out of control.
This year's been out of control.
This year been out of control. That's it. If I can stop.